Hello, I am Centimus Prime, and here I will be reviewing the Transformers 1 Prime Changer Quintesson High Commander. And so to start this off, we will be taking a look at the figure itself and getting a close-up look at the head sculpt. If we can get the head sculpt in. Now it seems to be sculpted fine. Looks fine. In my opinion, I do think that there are some, details here that could have been, picked out in, some paint. But overall, it doesn't look too bad. Yeah, looks alright. The torso does have has a decent amount of detailing to it. Doesn't look too bad. There are some interesting paint apps in here that wasn't really present on the back of the packaging, but it looks alright. Got a little bit of silver paint here and the sort of belt buckle looking piece. Got more of these maroon lines pulsing through the head and the shoulders and around the neck and stuff. Well, not looking too bad. He does have this weird camel's hump thing on his back, which is kind of distracting, but it doesn't look. But I believe that's a detail in the movie, I would think. Yeah, well, it's details and stuff. Got little spike details. Alright, moving on to the details on the arms. It does have some sort of these the upper arms are done in this palm, maroon palm plastic, which should be durable, and it does have some little spike detailing jutting out the shoulders, which doesn't look too bad. And I am interested with how they did the asymmetry with the forearm stinger thingies. Where on this side, the details on this arm looks more rounded and more organic. Whereas on this side, the details on molded on here appear to be more sharper and slightly more mechanical looking. And slightly more aggressive. And it got a little bit more of that maroon paint, maroon details and those veins showing through. And to top it off, we do have a little bit of yellow paint, highlighting some details down here. That's alright. Definitely gives it a slightly more of that asymmetry look. Alright. That's completely fine. And then we get to this is where I start to mention that this toy, not the most, not definitely one that's people haven't really liked a whole lot. Not a lot of people tend to like this figure. And yeah. We'll hold off the criticism for now, but for now let's just check out the details. We do have these long strands of purple sort of tentacle leg things. They're done up in this soft translucent plastic. And at the ends of the tentacle things, you do have a little bit of the green paint thing to give us grating down towards the bottom, which looks okay at the very end, but not for the rest of the parts. And if we move these out of the way, we do get a good look at the sort of like unileg, at the sort of like tripod leg thing that leg stand thing that this guy is standing on. See back here, we got some like not so great looking detail back here. Got some exposed tabs and like weird looking veins and stuff, hollow veins and stuff. Doesn't look too great down here. There's like a purple like stinger made in the same super soft plastic as the tentacle limbs. And then two a heel spurs back here, I guess. Do I call them heel spurs? It's not really a leg. Not really legs, but like whatever. My first criticism with this figure has got to be this purple, like soft plastic, rubbery plastic, because this doesn't feel too great. Like, to me, this translucent purple stuff feels like it's made out of a gummy candy. It feels like it's made out of gummy worms or something like that. It kind of looks like it too. Please don't eat this. It's not. This ain't edible. Please don't eat your Transformer toys. I'm just telling you what it feels like to me. But like looking at the figure as a whole, and actually no, I need to show you the back of the figure. We turn this around. Again, like not looking horrible. I'm not too mad about all the extra detailings here on the back. Like those look okay. There is a little bit of like hollow space, especially in the back and forearms, but for the most part, the back doesn't look too bad, to be honest. And I will say, like, if you like cover your hand over the bottom half to only expose the top half, that honestly doesn't look too bad. That looks like it. That has like a neat look. I think that looks neat. Looks pretty much how these guys would look in the Transformers 1 movie. Looks fine, and even from the back, like excluding like the bottom part here, looks okay. It's all this random junk here in the bottom that kind of makes this figure look bad to me. But I'd have come up with a fix for that, and I will show it off later. But for now, let's show off articulation. So the head is on a ball joint, so it can rotate 360, it can tilt ever so slightly left and right, so slightly that's barely even noticeable, and like no up at all due to the head design, but a tiny bit of down. It is technically on a double joint because there's a hinge here at the base of the neck in addition to the ball joint, so you can like have some rocking motion up and down. And if you're willing to like move this transformation hinge up, you can like put him in. You can move around his head in some like interesting poses and stuff. And something that I personally think is a neat little detail is sometimes is like sometimes I turn around the head, and the head honestly looks like its own, and like the top of the head honestly looks like its own face with like the maroon eyes, like the eyes and stuff. It's just like a little detail that I personally think doesn't look too bad. Alright. And so like that's head articulation. It does have this like front panel that like flips up, but that's more so for transformation than anything. The shoulders and elbows are each on ball joints, but the shoulders, while they are on ball joints, they can move, and while they can move out a good bit and move back and rotate and like all that, because of how the torso is sculpted, it can't really can't really rotate forward at all, unless you like try to like maneuver your way around it, and even then it's like it's a bit like tricky and all that. In order to move these arms forward, you have to move them out and then like finick them up and that. And even then, it's like more of an outward kind of up. And like, yeah, the balls are rather limited on the shoulders. Shoulders are rather limited, but hey, the elbows are also on ball joints, and they can like bend around and like pose around wherever. They can even bend past 90, and they can rotate, creating that faux bicep rotation. And not looking too bad. And now, because of how it's designed, he doesn't have hands. He just has these like stinger things. I believe this one's a sort of a projectile weapon. I would guess that this one's a projectile. I guess that this one would be like a gun arm due to how it's designed. But if it's not, that's alright. And there's also like, despite how it looks, he does have some sort of an arcing back ratcheting joint here. Arcing back like joint here. It only has room for one click, and when it does that click, it does make him look like he's does make him look like he's leaning back, which is okay. Like I guess that's like an extra like posability option. You can make his head like tilt down a bit, and for his like gummy worm tentacle, totally not gummy worm tentacles, he has like this hinge thing here, which means he can spread out his like tentacle limbs. But because his tentacle limbs are made out of this very gummy like feeling rubbery plastic, it can like bend and flex wherever, so that's fine. And to complete articulation, the base of the sort of stand thing can like articulate just a little bit, not really a whole lot, but if you like bend if you bend this front stinger thing and these two and this like double heel thing back here, you can use that to like display the stand at different angles. So there is that at least. So in terms of articulation, not that good. Like, he is severely limited when it comes to articulation, unfortunately. And that kind of, like, it's honestly, like, I just don't know how to say it. It's pretty bad articulation. A lot of it's hindered. The only pieces of articulation that aren't really hindered are the elbows and the tentacle things. Everything else is just severe. It just has a severe lack of posability, and most of what he does have is severely hindered. So that is unfortunate. Okay, let's compress that down. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and move on to size comparisons. So starting off here, he is next to my Siege Optimus Prime, and at a tad bit small for what is supposedly a Quintesson High Commander, don't you think? It looks like not really intimidating next to a Voyager class, but that's fine. I believe it's supposed to be more intimidating next to other figures within the sort of size, price point size sort of thing that he has. So let's go. Here he is next to Crosscut, and okay. Yeah, next to Crosscut. Okay. So unfortunately, he is a tad bit small, even for a deluxe. If you're going head wise, if you're including this extra camel's hump, back here, he's about the same height as your average deluxe, but you can extend the bottom a bit to make him a little bit taller. But even then, his head is still significantly. He's still from head to head. He's still significantly shorter. Still a little bit shorter than your average deluxe, even with the stand extended. So that is unfortunate. Well, let's bring on one more comparison. Why not? Here he is next to the Blocky's Galaxy version. Here he is next to one of Blocky's figures. Here is Skywarp from the first wave of their Galaxy boxes. And that's honestly a bit better. That's honestly a bit better in terms of scale. And even with this, it's slightly better, but it's slightly better, but still not perfect, to be honest. But hey, if you want to display these Quintessons with anything, it's honestly displaying the Quintessons along with your Blocky's figures. Honestly, is not a bad option. And so with that, and of course I will get to accessories later. But for now, let's go ahead and go through the transformation real quick. So for the transformation, we're going to start off by activating this transformation hinge from earlier. We are going to utilize this hinge down here that we were using earlier for articulation. We swing this around, make sure that locks into the opposite position of where it was before. Because it does lock into place, what you then do is rotate his head so that his little head crest thing just rests in this sort of gap. Rests in this sort of a slot here. Boom. Okay. After that, let's go ahead and rotate the arms up for now, and the legs while we're at it. Let's flip this thing up. Let's compress this down. Let's compress this down. We bend back the heels, and we bend back the stinger thing with the purple rubbery gummy plastic. What we can then do is untab this, swing this little back section back, untab that, and swing this swing this section out and rotate it 180. What you can then do is swing this down to swing this head panel down into the same spot, filling in that cavity. And what we can do here is take the arms, rotate them this way. So we're going to rotate them this way, and we're going to bend the arms in this sort of direction for now, so that they look like this. So that they look something like that. What we can then do is take these tentacle limbs, swing them back into position, make sure the ends of the tentacles are lined up somewhat like so. You'll line them up closely together so that you can, so that when you swing this down, fold this down over them, the tentacles don't get caught on anything as you're tabbing this into these tabs right here. Boom and boom. Okay. And with that tabbed in, we can then take the arms and plug this tab into this slot while simultaneously lining this slot up. Simultaneously lighting this slot up with this tab here in this panel. So like that, and boom. Do the same with the other arm. Boom and boom. Oh wait, the thing was in the way. Yeah, boom. There, much easier with that. And then after that, you can then flip out and tab in the nose cone. And after flipping this panel thing back down, here you have the Quintesson ship back. No, here you have the Quintesson High Commander in his sort of little spaceship mode. Now, first of all, I don't recall the Quintessons actually transforming in the movie. I believe this is just something that they've done to justify including these Quintessons into a Transformers toy line. And I guess that makes sense. And besides, this ship looks pretty cool, in my opinion. Honestly, I do kind of like the look of this. Looks really cool. Here, from the back, we do have all those nice details that were featured on the back of the figure, or all displayed, all where you can easily see them, and it does look pretty good. You got the spikes here in the back, looking pretty sharp, very nice. You got the arms, kind of doing good back there. They're doing a-okay back there. Here we have the nose cone sort of thing. Not looking too bad. Once again, just like with the tentacles, it does have this sort of a airbrushed fade from the green into the translucent purple. Speaking of which, the end of the nose cone is unfortunately made out of that gummy plastic, but hey, I guess that means it'll be more difficult poking someone's eye out with it, I guess. Doesn't look too, it looks fine. Here is the ship from the underside. You do have an obvious you do have an obvious view of what once was the torso. Now looking not too bad. Like, the details under here aren't looking too bad. They aren't looking too obvious. And heck, even the little hints of, even like the little ends of the tentacle limbs being exposed back here. And you even get like slight hints of the tentacles from certain angles. That looks fine. That looks pretty neat in my opinion. Especially down here where you got like these like ends, just like out ends, just like it feels like the ship is being held together with these like tentacle vine like things. And speaking of like vines and like rocky textures and stuff, this ship like looks very like either plant-based or very like Rock Lord-esque. And I think that looks pretty neat. Very nice. Turning here towards the back, we unfortunately do have a little bit of the hollow spacing back here from the arms, but that's still not looking too bad. And back here, the sort of stinger looking thing back here does appear to be making up the sort of like main turbine thruster looking propulsion system, like rocket thing here towards the back. So I guess that's neat. Not looking too bad. And while we're back here at the arm, something that I kind of like to do is sort of readjust these like these like forearm pieces, like untabbing these and like bending these, straightening these up. This is just like something that I personally like to do with mine. Is like I untap them, put them bend it back at like the certain angle, and boom, you got a more like arrow shape to it with but still like a few of the maroon spikes jutting out. Neat. Of course, you can plug those back in, but I don't want to like pinch the tentacles in like uncomfortable positions. There we go. That looks fine. Nice. Yeah, still very nice. Do flex around and stuff so they don't break. That's cool. That's cool, I guess. And moving on to accessories. This figure does come included with one accessory, and that is stored here under the nose cone, and that is this. This what appears to be a singular Energon cube. You can tell that it's looking like it's representing the more G1 style of Energon, where it is basically done in like pink, where the Energon looks like it's in a pink color. Which again kind of confuses me because I believe the Energon in Transformers 1 was the blue kind, like in the Aligned continuity and stuff like that. But hey, it's not looking. But hey, like it's still a nice little inclusion, I think. I do think it's like a nice little accessory, and despite the fact that it's supposedly made out of the same like translucent like rubbery plastic as everything else that's purple on here, it does seem to be rather solid. It doesn't feel like squishy, like a piece of gum or something, like a piece of like gummy candy. Like somehow this feels solid enough to be like a little like cute little Energon cube that you can display with your other Transformers, or just slot it back into this little square cavity because aside from this square slot, this Quintesson has no real way of interacting with this accessory at all, aside from this little thing right here. So, unfortunately, there is that. So, for now, let's just go ahead and push that back in, and let's go ahead and move on to size comparisons. Okay, so for size comparisons here, we have this little ship next to Skids in his vehicle form. So you can see how small that little ship mode looks. And of course, if we move him out of the way, let's of course bring in another figure for comparison. So here is the ship next to the Earthrise Seeker mold. So here's how he compares next to that. And let's do one more size comparison, why not? So here is the Quintesson next to a simple little Micromaster, like Siege era Micromaster. So there's how it compares to that. Still looks way off. Again, the ship is very tiny compared to how the ship looks in the show. But hey, there is still more features that I still have yet to talk about. Much like this little display stand thing. You know how a lot of Transformer figures have a 3mm port thing somewhere on them. Usually somewhere on the backside. Here he has the same port system on the bottom, which means you can take whatever stand you have that's compatible with this. Figma stands work, Bandai stands with the 3. It's 3.5mm actually, not just 3mm. Feel like I should make that specific, but to show you how he looks in the air, here I'm gonna show you the figure attached to a simple little stand that I put together from the Modroid Grid Knight and Goldburn model kit. So let's just adjust this accordingly. And let's go ahead and plug this into here. Boom. And there we have that. That looks pretty neat. I'd say it looks pretty good in flight. In a flight sort of display. In a flying sort of display. That looks pretty neat. The stand is of course not included, but hey, if you have a stand, it's something that you can do, which is nice. But before we end this, I would like to show you a little fan mode that I made. It's a sort of fan mode to make the figure look a little bit nicer to me. So this is going to be a fan mode really made for the robot mode. So in order to do that, let's start converting him back into his, robot mode, his quote-unquote robot mode. Let's unplug that. Let's bring his head back out. Boom. There we go. Let's adjust his arms accordingly. And for here, we're not going to rotate this back into its robot orientation. Instead, we're going to keep it at this orientation. And what we're going to do is slightly readjust the tentacle limbs so that they're at this sort of angle. And then what we're going to do here is with this is basically just sort of adjust it however you feel. I'm just going to do like this or something. Yeah, I guess like that or something. And then just like after feeling that click in the joint, you can just go ahead and make sure it's make sure everything's lined up like so, and basically just essentially leave it like that. You can then flip this panel down, and after that you can either leave this stinger as it is, or you can untap this and flip it back up to cover the little bit of hollow area down here. It honestly works a little bit better if you remove the cube, which would be fine anyway, since you're likely going to be stocking up on these anyways. And with that, here we have the Quintesson in a little fan mode that I made to make him at least look a little bit nicer. Now he does add now in this mode I did hide the majority of the weird looking gummy worm tentacles, only having the ends of them exposed out the back, splayed out the back, and with and of course we can adjust this and stuff. And you can adjust you can adjust this to make it look more tentacle-like or whatever. It significantly helps bulking up the back, which is nice. Does give it a nice. It does help with the spiky look, I would think. And something that's and a little, I guess a little attacking feature that's, I guess, is available now is the sort of stinger thing going on, and of course you still keep the arching back sort of accessory thing going on there. But you also get this additional little joint, so you can pose around with that to I guess sting certain things. Kind of like a wasp. Definitely wasp-like. Now, you might ask, how would I, display this, or how would I keep this thing standing up? Well, we can, of course, plug this in. And I get that it's not going to look all that great. It's likely more ideal to use. It's probably more ideal to use a translucent stand that has a little bit more movement, probably a Figma stand or something. But hey, this I guess works for what I'm going for, I guess. And with that, here we have. Let's go ahead and try to. Let's go ahead and try to put you in a neat little pose. And with that, here we have the Quintesson High Commander, and we've pretty much taken a good look at that. Overall, it's honestly not that good. It is highly regarded as a pretty bad like figure when it comes to like the Transformers 1 stuff. Let's just take that off because it's not looking that good anyway. Yeah, it's more ideal to use like a clear stand for here. And I guess like you can have this open up and be like a sort of like prison. And you can like trap someone in there. Like, yeah, there's like extra little like functions in there. I guess that's neat. So yeah, overall, yeah, honestly not that good. I had to like overall it's not the worst like toy I've seen, but it's definitely yeah, like to be fair, it's honestly not the worst Transformer toy I've experienced. But that still doesn't make it that good, you know? Like it's honestly pretty like simplistic and like weak for the price point that like for like what it is. It's unfortunately like oversimplistic and like ineffective for what it is. Like the articulation is overall pretty bad. Like transformation is like not too bad, to be honest. Like it's a simple and alright transformation. And the vehicle mode I honestly do think looks pretty cool. But this figure has so many other problems. Like for example, the whole like leg thing looked pretty ugly in my opinion. And I've even like, and sure you can like convert it into like this sort of fan mode to make it look slightly better. But it's still like not gonna look all that great. And another thing is, unfortunately, is size. Because unless you're displaying him next to, like you're not gonna be able to display this guy next to any of the like Studio Series or any of the. It doesn't even scale well with any of the other Prime Changers, unfortunately. Like, unless you're displaying him alongside your, like, Blockies collection, is really not going to scale well with anything. And even here, it's still not that great. Still not scaled all that great. It's just like the best scale I've seen displayed next to this so far. Now, I'm willing to guess that we might see them do like this kind of Quintesson as a Studio Series release later on, maybe as like a deluxe or or possibly even Voyager. Most likely Voyager. I would guess that would be like the most ideal price point for like what this guy's size is supposed to be. Well, it's really either Voyager or Leader, I would think. Definitely, probably not deluxe. But like as of this recording, this is pretty much what we've got when it comes to this style of Quintesson. So if you really want to like display your, so if you really want a your Quintesson army, and if you really want like this style of Quintesson, this really isn't that good of an option, but it's really the only option, you know? And to be fair, it's still not that, well, it is pretty bad. It's, again, not the worst, but still very down there. So, I'd say as far as your collection goes, if you're like displaying this alongside your like Transformers 1 like blockies figures, then that would be ideal when it comes to scaling and like display. In terms of when it comes to price, I honestly would not recommend this for like its retail price. It's just no way. For this figure right here, like, I honestly can't recommend anything higher than like, I can't recommend, and for this figure, I can't recommend anything higher than $10. If you can find this for like under $10, and if you really want like a type of Quintesson to display next to your blockies figures, then I'd say go ahead. It does come with, well, he doesn't come with like any accessories on his own. He does come with the Energon Cube, which I do feel like scale pretty well with your blockies figures. So you do have that. So like, yeah, to scale with blockies figures, I say this figure is most ideal with the blockies figures, like displaying next to those. Let's just go ahead and put that back there. Leave that like there. So yeah, like, and I guess like army building them, I guess it wouldn't be too difficult army building this guy, since like not a whole lot of people are gonna want this. I honestly think it's adequate at best. Not particularly bad, even though objectively this is bad. To me personally, I honestly didn't think I was gonna hate it as little as I thought I would. Because to be honest, he still looks fine. He still looks mostly accurate to the movie. He still has a pretty cool alt mode, all things considered. I guess it would be, if you want like a really nice like figure of like this type of Quintesson, yeah, your best option is to wait until they eventually do come out with a Studio Series version of this guy. But with that, I think that'll be it for this review. If you enjoyed this video, consider to like and subscribe, and maybe even comment if you want. And of course, I will be posting again sooner or later.